what's up, everybody? This is an open discussion with C3 Films. My name is Chris, and this is
Cheryl.
And today we're going to be talking about Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1, Episode 1. So, letting you guys know right now, we are going into spoiler territories. We will be spoiling the first episode. There's only one episode out at the time of this recording, so we're not going past that. So as long as you've seen that episode, you're fine. But if you haven't seen an episode, go check it out and then come back and watch what we have to say about it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So.
All right. So I just wanted to show this to you because it's really cool, but...
Oh my gosh. Are those like lightsaber chopsticks?
They are. I'm so excited about them. Yeah.
And you got two blue ones? What about, why did you get,
They're purple.
Where's the green one?
They are purple.
Oh, they're purple?
Yeah, it's hard because if I go too forward, they'll... Oh, no, they won't disappear, but... Okay, I mean, it's just trust me, they're purple.
Okay, we're all going to trust you that they're
purple. But I can have lightsaber fights against myself, but really I just use it to put my hair up. But anyways, I was excited we were doing another Star Wars show because I just got these for Christmas.
Oh.
And I was like, I have my lightsabers back.
You know, whenever like things open up and you're able to like go out like in like the world again, you should dress up like you were dressed up for the Matrix that we did, and then have those glow sticks, glow like the glowing lightsabers in your hair, and then go to like a rave club where they have like a bunch of like flashing lights and stuff.
Holy moly, I'm too old for that.
Nah, man, you got to do it. You have the lightsaber chopsticks now. It's good. It's too good. All right. Well,
anyway,
what
about
did you
the show?
Yes, about the thing we're recording for YouTube. What did you think about like the book of Boba Fett? Like, you and I are both big Star Wars fans. We both watched The Mandalorian, loved it. We've watched all of the Star Wars mainline movies. We've watched like the spin-off movies. I don't think you've seen Clone Wars, but you plan on it at some point. So we played Jedi Fallen Order. We are Star Wars junkies. If you've followed us on this channel, you know this about us. So, what did you think?
Well, okay, so the thing is, only one episode has come out so far, and I feel like there's not too much to go on yet, but so far, so good, not too, enticing. I'm not that captivated quite yet. I think the first episode was a lot of, like, world building, establishing everybody's roles and who they are at this point. Kind of like being airdropped into a point in time, in a really big universe over the span of like hundreds and thousands of years. So I think that's really important to do. And there's a lot of just getting to know who the characters are. I mean, we know who Boba Fett is. We know who I don't remember her name, the assassin. Finnick, yeah. So, like, we know who she is because we watched Mandalorian. She's a Mandalorian. And so it just kind of gives us, like a opportunity to just be, like, lay it all out here. Like, this is it. These are our characters. This is who you're going to be, like, seeing. This is, the point that we are in time. And like what their roles are, who they are right now at this point in time, and not who they used to be. So,
yeah, I mean, and I thought it was interesting that we started off by seeing like the flashback through like giving us through the mechanism of the dream that he was having or the nightmare that he was having. But I really liked seeing references to. I love references, and I love rewarding people for the time spent that they've like invested into these worlds. So I love seeing Camino. Like, you see that water planet, and you see the building that's in like that's in the water, that's built in the water or whatever. And if you've paid attention, even if you haven't seen Clone Wars, if you've seen like the Attack of the Clones, you know that's Camino. You know that's the home world where the clones were created. You know that's where Boba was given or like taken out of the batch to be raised by Jango. And then you get to see the next part from Attack of the Clones near the end, where he's holding the helmet of his father after his father's been beheaded by Mace Windu. So I love being able to see those scenes again, because the sequel trilogy of Star Wars felt very adverse to want to even say something as simple as Coruscant. they never wanted to mention the fact that the prequels were a thing, which is why we didn't hear anything about like those prequel, like anything referencing those prequel movies. We didn't see prequel characters, not really, and we didn't even see like prequel planets. But it's so cool that the television shows have had not a problem referencing that era of Star Wars. I mean, Mandalorian season 2 is built on characters from the prequel era of Star Wars. So I really liked seeing it. And then they did something. The shot where he's looking at the helmet was not in the movie for Attack of the Clones. So they almost like recreated that shot for the for this episode or for this like television show.
Wait. You're talking about when he picks up the helmet and he is like that, that really awesome shot where he just picks it up, and that was 100% in the movie.
Oh, when he picks up the helmet and that long shot, that wide, that's there. Not the close up of him looking in the helmet with his reflection in it.
Oh,
That's
I see
not
what
in
you're
the
saying.
movie.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I was like, how do you not know that was in the movie? That was like one of the most amazing shots that's like, I feel like we had talked about it before in the past, but anyways, but yeah.
So they added an extra shot in there, which I thought was cool. But then so like, and it got me asking some questions. Like, you were talking about how this first episode doesn't really like, there's nothing to really hook you, and that's one of the things that I was bringing up when I was thinking about it as well. Is that when we watch The Mandalorian, by the end of the first episode, you get a sense of what the rest of the show is going to be about. It's going to be about this, spoiler alert for Mandalorian, everybody, if you haven't seen any of it, it's going to be about this baby Yoda kid, who we later find out is named Grogu, is going to have to deal around this character. So we get a sense of, okay, whatever the story is, we don't know, but we at least know that the show's probably going to be about this element. But when you finish the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, there's really nothing to suggest what the show is going to be about, what the overarching threat might be, what the overarching goal might be. I mean, we get the idea he's starting a criminal underworld, or he's trying to be a leader, but it's so broad that that could literally encompass anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess we're kind of waiting to figure out, like, she's gonna interrogate that one guy that she captured, and so we'll get a little bit more info there. But then, I think there's multiple timelines, right? Because there's also the story about Boba Fett and how he came out of the sandworm and is now with the Tuskens, and then. I guess it's kind of like, it's almost like The Witcher, it feels like, where you have two different timelines and then we're just got to figure out, like, but I guess it's easier to figure out because we've seen the original Star Wars, so we know exactly where this is starting from, because from what we know, he died in the original Star Wars trilogy, so it's kind of like, well, actually, no, he didn't. And this is how. So we're going to show you what happened to him. So there's two different things going on. Then I kind of like, because not only are we getting an explanation of how he survived, but we're also getting a little bit of like, well, this is where he is now. So,
I
don't. It felt a little bit weird to me though, because I was kind of wondering, like, how old Boba Fett should technically be in this point in time if he had just come out of the sandworm.
I mean, if it's supposed to take place immediately after Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett should probably be in his 40s, because he's like a teenager during Attack of the Clones, right? Or like he's a kid in Attack of the Clones, and then that story I think the Clone Wars takes like 3 years or something. He's a teenager by the end of the Clone Wars, so by the time of Revenge of the Sith, he would be a teenager, and then it's like it's 30 years, I think, until A New Hope, or maybe it's 20 years until A New Hope. I can't remember. I'm forgetting the time frame, but
he should be older than Luke and Leia, but younger than Vader.
Yeah, but younger than Vader. Because it's also 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, and the time in between A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, I think, is also 5 years. So he could be 50. He could actually be like in his 40s or 50s.
Okay, so that's about right. I don't actually know how old the actor is, but
Yeah. Well, if so, Tamura Morrison, for those of you that don't know, is the same actor that played Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, which makes sense because
he's a clone.
he's a clone. They're all supposed to look like Jango, which got me asking a couple of questions. But before I get to those, I will say, so yeah, seeing him escape the Starlight Pit was great. But now one thing that happens when I watch people on Tatooine, I can't help but think about, like, after seeing Dune, I can't help but think about how much Dune must have influenced like Tatooine's creation for in Star Wars with George Lucas, like the sandworm, the desert planet. I'm like, this is basically Arrakis. But it's also terrifying to be on Tatooine because you got Jawas that are just gonna rip your stuff off while you're like dying and then knock you out. Then you got Tusken Raiders that are gonna come and make you a slave, and like you gotta fight for water. Like, man, Tatooine is a hard place to live.
Yeah, and then when you go to town, it's all like gambling. Like it's pretty rough out there.
I don't never want to live in Tatooine.
Nope, I don't even want to visit for fun.
No, exactly. I know why Luke got the heck out of there.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Seriously though, like But I like seeing how I like seeing how Boba is going to survive in the past. They brought up like there's certain elements that they've already started to plant. When he first escapes the Tusken Raiders and he's chased down at night, the person that he gets into a fight with beats him with the staff that he later has in The Mandalorian. So now all of a sudden I'm asking myself, okay, so are you going to beat this person eventually in a fight and take their staff, or is this person going to die and you're going to then be given the staff? But this is clearly the staff that you end up training with and using in The Mandalorian. So I'm curious to see how that progresses.
Yeah, I definitely felt, it was interesting to see him lose to a Tusken. And then, when we get to that scene when he's with the Tusken child, like it's pretty obvious that, it might not seem that way, but we know that he could 100% take that child down and then escape. But he decides not to. So we know that he's making a choice to not be violent with the kid. So right. And I think he shows that too by actually grabbing onto the thing, and then he takes down the monster. So it's pretty clear. And then the kid's gonna go back and tell everyone that oh yeah, he did this, what he did. I thought it was funny how he was carrying the head in and everything. Oh okay. But it's just a great way to show the control and morality that Boba Fett has, where he takes his ethics, where is he going to draw the line for what good and bad is? Because in the original movies, he was seen as a villain.
Right.
But really, he's just doing his job. I guess what he's being paid to do, but what he really is, and I forget her name, Finnick, kind of questions him because he's not showing,
he's not ruthless.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy, but if you're gonna take Jabba's place, you kind of need to be a bad guy, and he's almost like, well, no, I'm not gonna be that person.
Yeah, but I like the fact that we're still following people who are essentially villains because they don't mind killing people. When they get into that fight in the square, when they get ambushed, there's a point when the guys are trying to escape, and rather than let this one guy escape, Boba pulls out a missile and blows the dude up. And I'm like, bro, you didn't have a laser? You couldn't shoot him or something? You had to blow him up?
Right. I mean, it's Boba Fett. So, and I actually really liked that he shot the missile because it reminds you. It's look, don't forget, even though he's a nice guy, like, he's not terrible. He's still Boba Fett, so
Boba Fett.
he is going to murder you with a missile if you cross him. So
Exactly. And then
like,
I love
you
like even with
started
Fennec.
it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But then like with Fennec, when she goes and she's chasing down these two guys, like I love it when she gets both. She basically traps one and the other guy's staring at her. And literally what I said out loud is, you only need one person to. You only need one of them. You don't need both. And literally, because I always think about Mulan when they had the guys when the Huns captured those two guys and they say go and give the message and they run away and then the evil Hun leader says how many people does it take to deliver a message and his henchman says one and they cut to black. So when he says I want them alive and she traps them both, I'm like, you don't need to take both of them, you only need one. And then Fennec immediately kills one. And I was like, yeah.
Well, no, she looks at both to see like which one seems more like they're gonna spill the beans, and then she was like, that one, so I'm gonna kill that one. But I 100% thought about Mulan as well, like that one particular thing that you referenced, and it's funny because like, did you think about Mulan because she actually played the voice of Mulan?
Right.
I wonder if they did that on purpose. I wouldn't put that past Jon Favreau.
I wouldn't put it past him either. But yeah, no, that was great, and it shows that these are still characters that aren't necessarily interested in doing good. They're not interested in being the hero. They're gonna do what's necessary. And in many ways, Fennec wants to take this even further than what Boba wants to take it. Like you were saying, when the mayor sends his attaché to talk to them, Fennec is like, I can kill this dude if you want. I'll kill him. I have no problem doing it. And Boba's the one that like stays her hand. But yeah, like that I like the relationship the two of them have. I think it's interesting that Boba isn't as willing to try to do evil as, I guess, quote unquote evil as Fennec is, but still when the rubber meets the road, he has no problem tapping into that and doing what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I had mentioned, it's a lot of just establishing how the characters are. So I just don't know where it's gonna go. I don't know if I'm gonna like where it's gonna go, but at least I know how everyone is gonna be. I'm a little interested to know about the lady at the cantina bar. I liked how they had the cantina song, but they kind of like did a variation for it, so it wasn't exactly the same. It was more like classy, I guess. So that was fun. But yeah, I'm just interested to know where it's gonna go. I like that they brought back Jabba's chamber. That's where like he is now. So that was pretty cool. And then they brought back those the pig henchmen, and now they got like Boba Fett's back and everything. that was a fun. So that's how you go back.
Yeah.
Like that's how you tap into nostalgia, not the way the Matrix did it.
No, exactly. And it was cool because like, I mean, at the end of Mandalorian, like that's when he killed Bib Fortuna, which is one of the other guys that was on that ship with Jabba when Luke and friends destroyed it. So the other thing about the like shows like this, like we learned from Mandalorian, is that they like to bring in characters that we know from other stories within this universe. So what I got asking myself is, do we think that characters that we know, I mean, I feel like it's almost guaranteed, but do you think that characters that we know are going to show up in Boba Fett? And if you do think there are characters that are going to show up, do you have any theories on who we could possibly see?
Okay, yeah, I 100% think that at some point these are all there's going to be like some kind of crossover at some point, because it's not just Boba Fett and Mandalorian. There's also going to be Ahsoka, and then I don't know if they're doing like where exactly, what place and time Obi-Wan is going to be. I'm not sure if that one's going to take a a fallen.
I think Obi-Wan is during the time before A New Hope. It's between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, I believe.
Right, so that's probably not going to fall in because none of those actors are going to be like the right age to be involved in this.
And Obi-Wan should be dead right now anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that's going to happen, but we've seen spoiler alert for Mandalorian, but we have seen Ahsoka in there, and we have seen Boba Fett in there as well. So there's kind of already been a crossover for the different shows. It's just that they've established the characters in Mandalorian, and now they're getting their own show. So I definitely feel like there's going to be some bigger plot going on in Mandalorian at some point where they're all going to like cross, and it's going to be some really cool crossover thing that. Right. And if they don't do it, I'll be very upset.
Well, I guess like the other part of that question is that because like when we first saw Mandalorian, we weren't expecting to see characters like Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. Like those are characters that popped in the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels that then showed up in Mandalorian. So I guess I'm wondering is like if any characters like that, like unexpected. For instance, do you think we'll see Mace Windu in this show?
I don't because I think he's dead. Even though it's entirely possible for him to be alive, I don't think so. And also, wouldn't he be like incredibly old? Like older?
I mean, he'd be the same age as he'd be like 70. He'd be like this age Samuel Jackson actually is.
I think he would. I think he would be older than how old Samuel L. Jackson is right now. But I don't think they're gonna do that. Although I think Samuel L. Jackson would be totally down. He'd be like, yes. And that would be so fun. But I don't think they're gonna do that. That would be even though Darth Maul was spoiler for for Solo. Even though they brought Darth Maul back, I don't think that they would do that for SLJ.
Yeah, I agree, but I did wonder if maybe we could see his lightsaber or something. I was wondering about that. Oh gosh, but yeah, and like I was also wondering if we'd also because there are other characters that are in this world that aren't as big as Samuel Jackson. I think like that would be like Mace Windu's like the big one to think about, like because of the connection between him and Boba. But I also don't think he'd show up. But I wonder about other characters like clones, for instance, or like Rex, Captain Rex from Clone Wars and stuff, because anybody who was a clone could be played by Tamora Morrison. And so, and some of these clones have been shown to be alive within like the animated shows. So if you show them in live action, they're just played by the same actor. So I was wondering if maybe we might see some clones in Boba Fett, and that seems like something that's not as big a character, but it's still something that they could do.
Yeah, I don't know if they really would though, like what purpose that would really serve. If like maybe if they have a good reason for it, then sure, why not?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, everything will come down to just if there's a reason for it to be in the story. But you know, like with the Bad Batch, for instance, I didn't watch the Bad Batch, but I don't know if those characters are still around. I just know that Star Wars likes to sneak people in that we've heard of, and so I'm just really curious of who that would be in the context of the story they're trying to tell.
Well, I mean, spoiler alert for Mandalorian.
Oh God! Just don't even watch this show if you haven't seen every Star Wars thing ever.
But yeah, I mean, we all know like the last thing that we saw for Mandalorian was Luke, right? And that's a huge character to bring back. So, I don't know, to do that for Mace Windu seems a little bit, like, a little too much. Because then I think that takes away from, you know, Luke, I guess, a little bit. But then there's also just the whole idea of like, if he was alive all this time, why didn't he ever
What's he
help?
been doing?
Yeah, like, haven't you showed up at any other point in time
Yeah.
to like help
Why didn't you
out
try to
and
help?
stuff? Yeah.
Why didn't you try to get revenge or
Yeah,
anything?
he should be dead. He shouldn't come back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would be very disappointed in him. And he'd be way too OP, I think. Way too OP.
Right? Exactly. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm excited to see where the show's going to go. I don't like you. I don't think the first episode gives us much to go on, but I'm at least intrigued, and I'm waiting for the show to hit its stride. Like for many shows, that's like episode 3. So I'm curious. Like in 2 weeks, are we going to have a better idea of what is the story the show is trying to tell with Boba outside of just the flashback, which we know the story for the flashback is going to be about how he came to live with the Tusken Raiders and then eventually leave them to then look for his armor and things like that. But what's the present day story going to be that's going to be interesting enough to have warranted him getting his own show?
Yeah, and I definitely am like curious to know like what happened to him, because we know that he appears in Mandalorian, so he has like a role to play in that story as well. So it's just kind of interesting to see like what are they going to show us and how is it going to link back to Mandalorian, because it seems like he's going to have somewhat of a role in that as well, maybe, because they did spend he's a bounty hunter, so it's easier to just be like, hey, look at Ahsoka, and now she's gonna get her own show. But then if you have like a Mandalorian who is a bounty hunter, and then he's basically based off of Boba Fett. So it's a little hard to like just be like, oh, here's Boba Fett, now we're gonna give him his own show. No, I feel like they just kind of have to like stay close together. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that develops. Maybe all of this takes place before the events that happened in Mandalorian, and that's how it's gonna be separated.
Wait, no. The stuff that's happening now. You saw the after credit sequence of The Mandalorian, right?
It's been a while.
Okay, well, the after credit sequence of The Mandalorian showed Boba Fett going to Jabba's palace and killing Bib Fortuna, and then basically leading into what we're doing now. So okay. I think in the timeline, this takes place after the events of The Mandalorian.
Okay. Right. Well, I still feel like these two shows, I think, are going to be more closely hand in hand than the one with Ahsoka. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that. I also wonder if this entire season is just going to take place on Tatooine, because in Mandalorian he had a reason to go to different planets, but right now Boba Fett doesn't have a reason to leave Tatooine since he's trying to basically build his empire on Tatooine. So is the whole show going to take place on Tatooine, or are we ever going to go somewhere else?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't entirely hate that, because Tatooine is a very interesting planet. A lot of stuff happens there throughout the Star Wars years, so there's always
I never want to go on Tatooine, that we said earlier.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. I just want to see it from a safe distance.
Safe distance. Like a whole galaxy away.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Here on Earth, not even in the same time period.
Yeah, right? Oh, gosh. Yeah, well, we're in the future, remember. That's in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the future. But, all right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we get out of here? I feel like we touched on a lot of the main points for the episode.
No, I'm good.
All right. So, what did you guys think about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1, Episode 1? Did you enjoy it? Do you like seeing Tamora Morrison back as, like, Boba Fett, back from Jango to play his son? Do you like Fennec, Ming-Na Wen? Like, did you enjoy the first episode so far? Or do you think that it didn't really hook you and you're waiting to see more? Whatever you thought about it, comment below, let us know. And when you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we'll see you all next time.